everyone, down to my last couple hours with the Tacoma here, and one thing I haven't done this week is actually take this thing off-road. So there's a little off-road area about 20 minutes north of where I live. Plenty of off-roading opportunities within like a couple hours of where I live, but for today, I think that's gonna be best. So let's do a little video here, talk a little bit about the Tacoma on-road on our way to this off-road area, and then see how it does off-road. I already know the answer. It's pretty awesome, but nonetheless, let's go. So in terms of on-road experience in the Tacoma TRD Pro, underrated thing about the shocks is that they are awesome for on-road use as well as for off-road use. So like in this truck, I want to hit every single pothole and speed bump that I come across because it's really fun. This truck as a whole is like a toy. It's probably the most toy-like vehicle that I've ever driven. It really manages to capture that old school Marty McFly Toyota pickup appeal. Really underrated feature outside of the suspension, which is the main reason to buy this vehicle, is the TRD exhaust. It makes it sound like a little sports truck. It all works together really well. One thing that I don't particularly love about this vehicle, and something that's pretty widely criticized on any Tacoma with this 6-speed automatic transmission, is the way it shifts. Coming up a little incline here, and the truck keeps going into fourth as soon as I slow down or let off the gas, and then as soon as I get back on the gas, it jumps down to third, and it's just doing that constantly. Kind of frustrating. It makes for a weird ride experience, and the thing's constantly just making noise and shifting, and it's a very busy transmission. I mentioned this on Instagram, and one thing that somebody pointed out was that ECT power button that like every Toyota truck has had since like the late 1990s. It stands for electronically controlled transmission power. It raises up the shift points, but beyond that, I'm not exactly sure what it does. So I'm gonna press it. Okay, it's on. And then somebody said to put it into sport mode and shift up to 6th so that the truck will then use all 6 gears. Not sure how that works, but let's give it a try. Okay, so cruising along here, and right off the bat, it does rev a little bit higher. And when I say higher, with that ECT power button on and with it in sport mode, it kind of behaves more like a normal 6-speed automatic transmission. Yeah, it held onto the gear maybe a little bit long there, but that's better than shifting to the higher gear like immediately. I'm about to pull onto a highway here via an on-ramp, and we will see how this configuration does in that scenario. Going 75 miles per hour. Yeah, I think that ECT power button does make a little bit of a difference. We'll leave it at that. On the highway, she's a little floaty. That suspension will transfer motion a little bit more than like a normal truck suspension would, but it's also really cushy, so it's a fair trade-off. Not exactly like straight as an arrow on the highway, but the truck makes up for it in other ways, as you'll see. One of the Tacoma's updates for 2020 is the addition of standard Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is great. I've now tried this one with 3 different USB cables, and I cannot get Android Auto to work. I know some USB cables are just for power, while others are for data transfer, and I'm pretty confident that at least one of these that I've tried is for data transfer, if not all 3, but for whatever reason, still can't get it to work. So yeah, Toyota infotainment, always a struggle. They sell these trucks, particularly Tacoma, on reputation and reliability, and they don't really seem to care to improve in other areas like infotainment. So that's just kind of the way it is with Toyotas. All right, so I've been on the highway for like 10 or 12 miles now, and I am noticing that even with this ECT power button on, there's just a lot more throttle input required with this truck to just keep up with highway speeds. It's not slow, but I'm noticing that I'm just constantly falling behind, naturally falling behind the speed of traffic. And still the transmission, it's just weird. I think you have to experience it And if you're gonna buy one of these trucks, you should really drive it on the highway for more than a few miles, just to make sure you're comfortable with this weird drawback. Luckily, it's technically available with a 6-speed manual, but manual equipped Tacomas are really difficult to find, but they are what I would recommend, because transmission is just weird and it doesn't need to be. I don't get it. Another thing about the exhaust, you do hear it on the highway, but it's not intrusive. Compare it to the Tundra and Sequoia TRD Pro. Those both use the 5.7 liter V8 engine with a TRD catback exhaust. And on those trucks, both kind of got annoying after a while. On the highway, the drone is just constant. And when you don't want to hear it, you know, after hour 3 behind the wheel, it's still there and it gets really annoying after a while. This one is less obtrusive. All right, so we made it to the off-road area. First, I want to do a quick exterior tour of the Tacoma TRD Pro and just highlight all of the off-road upgrades that you get with the TRD Pro. Starting up front, Toyota Wordmark grille. Everyone knows that. You also get the hood from the Tacoma TRD Sport. So you get a hood scoop on the TRD Pro, you don't get a hood scoop on the TRD Off-Road. Down below, TRD skid plate with that red lettering that I think was added for 2019. Along the side, black TRD wheels. This is a new design. They're lighter than they were in previous years. They come wrapped in Goodyear, Wrangler, Kevlar, mild all-terrain tires. It's a really mild all-terrain, and these are 16-inch wheels, so you get a nice big sidewall. Behind those wheels is the real reason you buy one of these, and that is this TRD and Fox co-branded internal bypass off-road performance suspension. For my purposes, they're about as good as I would ever need. There are more sophisticated suspension options out there on the aftermarket, but these are pretty good. Around back, you get a piggyback reservoir right here, and what that does is it holds the shock oil away from the main body of the shock where all the movement is, and that allows for more travel, and then it also holds the oil away from the shock and allows it to stay cooler, which should enhance performance. This one has this TRD Pro sticker package. It's a matter of taste. It also comes with the TRD air intake. The Toyota calls this the desert air intake. It's a snorkel. The reason they call it a desert air intake is probably for legal purposes. They don't want to lead someone to believe that their truck is capable of driving through 4 feet of water just because they got this snorkel. It's a $725 option on the Tacoma TRD Pro, but it's also available as an accessory, so you could fit it to any Tacoma, really. TRD Pro badging on the door here. Around back, you get the little TRD Pro badge right there, and then as I mentioned, TRD catback exhaust. That about covers the outside. Now let's hop back inside. Full-time 2-wheel drive. You can shift into 4 high on the fly, and then to go into 4 low, put the truck into neutral. I'm going to stay in 2-wheel drive just to see how that is. Up here, a couple of the Tacoma TRD Off-Road and TRD Pro's calling cards are the inclusion of a locking rear differential, which is a key feature to have off-road, and then Toyota's multi-terrain select and crawl control systems. Multi-terrain select lets you tailor the traction control and I'm not sure, maybe ABS system to different terrains, and then crawl control is kind of like off-road cruise control. It works at really low speeds and kind of modulates the throttle with more precision than most drivers could with their right foot. And then this knob here is for either adjusting the speed of crawl control or cycling through the different modes of multi-terrain select. Maybe we'll get into those a little bit once we get out here. You do get this camera system, which is a new addition for 2020. Unfortunately, it's still a pretty low resolution system. I'll show you the backup camera. I mean, that's like 2004 technology right there, unfortunately, because in theory, this is a really good feature to have. The quality just kind of impacts how much it can really help you. You could get a sunroof now. These didn't always come with a sunroof, but I don't think there's much else in this truck, if anything, that I'm leaving out that is crucial to the off-road experience. So on that note, let's get out here into the dirt. So I've had a Tacoma TRD Pro as a loan before, and I took it camping down in Moab, which was really cool, but the issue there was I had other people with me, I had my dogs with me, I had a bed full of camping supplies, so I couldn't really go too hard without jostling everybody and everything around. In this case, all I've got with me is like a water bottle, so I'm gonna be able to really get after this thing in a way that I've always wanted to. I'm just in too high right now. She's slipping a little bit. Ooh, looks like some more serious obstacles coming up. All right, we're trying this hill again. I think this is where I want to go. This time we're in 4 high. In order to activate the rear locker, you have to be in 4 low, which is kind of a bummer because that would be pretty helpful in this situation. Yikes, 4 low is probably advisable here. I can always stop and pop her into 4 low if I need to, but not so. Oh, okay, and we're stuck, so we need 4 low. So neutral, 4L, rear locker on, drive. And there we go. Okay, not so bad. And in that situation, it was nice to know that I had crawl control as a last line of defense. I've used it, I've seen it demonstrated in plenty of rough scenarios, and it seems like a gimmick, but it does work. Okay, and we are up here. Yeah, the suspension's great. It doesn't feel like it's gonna bottom out or anything. Oh boy, there's a big mud puddle. I think I'm gonna avoid it. Yeah, I'm too old for that. Let's see what's around the way here. This looks like something. Little campfire back here. I think this just loops around. Let's back out. In a vehicle without this suspension, I'd probably be driving a lot more slowly. I'd be approaching obstacles a lot more cautiously. I'd be doing more cringing. That's what should matter to you as the driver when it comes to these suspensions, is does it allow you to arrive at your destination, say your campsite for the night, with more energy and less stressed out? I know my personal vehicle, 1999 Toyota Land Cruiser, it'll bottom out sometimes if I hit stuff hard. So anytime I'm driving through slightly uneven or technical terrain, I tend to tense up. It's just a little bit more stressful. Vehicle like this, yes, you're gonna pay more for the suspension, but if you do a lot of off-roading, it's gonna pay off. It's a much more relaxed experience. This stuff here. Again, still in 4 low, still got the rear locker on. Yep, didn't even nosedive. Pretty impressed. Ahead of me now is some really rutted out, uneven terrain. So let's do a little demonstration of crawl control here. So you can see that we're already in 4 low. We already even have the rear locker locked. To activate crawl control, I'll just push this button. You see this little screen comes up that shows where the knob is and how that relates to this vehicle's speed. So let's start off with it low, and from what I remember, low is really low. So it's an ABS based system, so it sounds really violent, and it's, well, not at all pleasant to be in this vehicle right now. It's jerking around a lot. Oh my God, okay, so we need to, my foot's not on the gas, the vehicle's doing all that. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Let's speed it up a little bit. Wow, the wheel is swinging all over the place. So just 1 notch up from the bottom is a lot more tolerable. Turn it up a little bit more. It's still pretty rough. 3rd setting. I'm doing my best here. Oh my goodness. But it's getting us through all this stuff really easily. Let's put it in park. Hop out, and we can see what we've just gone through. Pretty off kilter there. Really uneven. You can see there's a little bit of rear axle flex going on. Okay, crawl has been deactivated, so drive. And yeah, I can do this with my foot. Let's be clear. Could have done most of that with my foot, but crawl did take us through a little more consistently, I guess. Let's also try multi-terrain select. I'm not sure you can see, but this is a pretty rocky surface, so just for the sake of experimentation, we are in 4 low. I'm gonna press the MTS button. Mud and sand, loose rock, mogul, rock and dirt, rock. So let's go rock and dirt. Actually, let's go loose rock because that's pretty much what we've got here. So we're gonna drive. Let's see what happens. Foot's off the brake and off the gas. I'm going really slowly. It was a much more pleasant experience than crawl control. Not really sure what it did there, honestly. I think we're all right without it. And I think that's about all the technical off-roading I can handle today. I just checked the map and it looks like a nice forest road is just below this little off-road area. So let's go down there and rip this thing on some flat, straight dirt road. Here's a look at the off-road camera system. I put it into reverse so I can back up and let these guys pass here. But yeah, Toyota touts this as one of the upgrades to the Tacoma for 2020, and it certainly would be helpful in some situations. It's just hard to tell what is rock and what might be a pile of sticks. And obviously when you're off-road, a pile of dead sticks, fine to drive through. A rock, you really want to know if that thing, if that object in your field of view is a rock. And the low-resolution camera here makes it really difficult to tell that. So here is an inclometer, so it shows you pitch and roll. Here you've got a couple different angles, so you can show just out the back, and then back and sides right there. So to get down from that little off-road area there, I had to come down some pretty treacherous stuff, and at no point did I bottom out, at no point did I make any impact with the body, didn't come down on the skid plate at all. Now, most off-roaders could achieve that. This one has the good shocks though, decent tires, about an inch of added ride height, but beyond that, it's pretty much basic mid-sized truck. And basic mid-sized trucks, it would turn out, are quite capable off-road. What I love about the Tacoma TRD Pro is that, unlike an F-150 Raptor that has either a big V8 or a twin-turbo V6, this truck makes like 275 horsepower, meaning that you can drive it aggressively off-road and you're not gonna lose control and get yourself into trouble. It kind of follows the mantra of a slow car that's really fun to drive fast. Whoa! That was a coyote! And just as an example of the air intake in action, you can see the dust coming out behind me. And with an air intake down low on the vehicle, like in the wheel well, you can imagine how much dust that's going to pull in. With the snorkel here, which you can't even see the top of it, there it is, it's pulling in air from much higher up, and that air up there is going to be much cleaner than the air down here, and therefore the engine gets cleaner air to breathe, and it's less taxing on the components. And I think that's about as far as I'm going to go for today. This is a super fun truck. It's got its flaws. Transmission programming is wonky. Cab design has your feet kind of out in front of you, but altogether, it's one of the coolest vehicles on the road. It's like a toy. You'll pay about $50,000 for one of these, and that's if you can find one. These are in super high demand. This one's all kitted out. It's got the snorkel. In perfect spec, it would have the optional 6-speed manual transmission, but yeah, this one's pretty close to perfect as is. Do I recommend buying one? If you're gonna go off-road more than a couple times a year, I think you'd really enjoy having one of these. And even if you're not, they hold their value really well. Depreciation on the Tacoma is historically slow. Depreciation on these TRD Pro models is generally even slower, so it's a pretty safe vehicle to buy from a financial standpoint, and it's really fun to drive. Yeah, I give the Tacoma TRD Pro a big thumbs up. I've had a blast driving it out here and driving it over the course of this week, and yeah, it certainly gets my approval. Thanks for watching.